Now, the last tower to receive a major rebalance in this update, other than the Engineer and the Assassin Tower, is, interestingly, the Commando Tower, an event tower that you can no longer get. An event tower that the developers have decided not to put on sale for this rebalance. Now, typically, rebalances do not typically have a Game Pass associated with them, because the last time the Archer was rebalanced, not reworked, it didn't get its Game Pass on sale, but when it did get reworked, it did get its Game Pass on sale. So perhaps the developers decided that this wasn't a major rebalance for the Commando Tower, so we're not going to re-add its Game Pass to Tower Defense Simulator. And that's fair, I guess, but people are going to complain that they can't test out their new Commando rebalance thing because, well, it's not on sale. Although, to be fair, the only reason why people want the Commando Tower Game Pass to be on sale is because effectively it's a tower, an event tower from 2019 that not many people nowadays have. Because most of the people from 2019 probably have quit or have grown up from Tower Defense Simulator. Not me though, I'm still here. Now, interestingly enough, for the Commando Tower, its placement cost has increased from 2,250 to 2,350. Okay, fair enough. But also, its damage has been nerfed from 6 to 5. Again, that's really weird. So previously with its burst, it used to deal damage in bursts of 3 before taking a fire rate reload and doing like a burst cooldown of 0.5 seconds, whereas now the developers have completely removed it. So the only thing inhibiting the Commando Tower is now the reload, which the Commando Tower did also used to have, but that's when it ran out of bullets after its bursts. So yeah, very complicated rework change. They've just decided to remove the burst from the Commando Tower. The max hits for the Commando Tower has remained the same at 2. Yes, its laser beams can hit up to 2 enemies if they are positioned correctly, but the range for the Commando has increased from 12 to 13. But additionally, the Commando Tower now has flying detection at default at level 0. Now, having flying detection probably is not perhaps a big deal given the fact that only 2 game modes, permanent game modes in Tower Defense Simulator, have flying enemies, that being Hardcore Mode and Pizza Party. But I guess when an event comes along, maybe the Commando Tower could come into use somehow. I really doubt it. However, because of these changes, the Commando Tower has actually had a DPS increase. Yes, despite the fact that the damage for the Commando Tower has changed and the DPS, oh sorry, the fire rate hasn't changed, because of the burst removal, the DPS for the Commando has increased from 13.52 to 16.23, and the cost efficiency has gone from 166.42 to 144.79. Now that, most people probably wouldn't have expected that the Commando Tower has actually been buffed if they just looked at the changes they've made to the tower itself. But yes, because of the burst changes, yeah, the Commando Tower has been buffed. However, with that being said, the Commando Tower doesn't have hidden detection at level 0, and at level 1 its upgrade cost has remained the same at 935, meaning that the total cost for the Commando has gone from 3,185 to 3,285. Interesting enough. However, the damage has been nerfed from 8 to 5, and the fire rate, interestingly enough, has decreased from 0.2 to 0.15. Of course, there is no burst at this level, so we're going to have to disregard all of that. And also, I forgot to mention this, at level 0, the reload time is increased from 2.5 to 3, whereas at level 1, it's decreased from 2.5 to just 2 seconds. Very cool. The range has increased from 12 to 13 at this level, and this therefore means that the Commando has been buffed in its DPS. Previously it was 18.03 and now it is 22.26, meaning that the cost efficiency for the Commando Tower has decreased from 176.65 to 147.57. A lower cost efficiency is better, meaning that the Commando, despite the changes with the damage going from 8 to 5 and the fire rate not looking like it's compensated that much, going from 0.2 to 0.15, yes, the Commando Tower has been buffed. Now at level 2, its upgrade cost has remained the same at 3,250, but of course because of the $100 increase at level 0, the total price for the Commando has increased from 6,435 to 6,535, but it can detect hidden enemies at this level. The damage has been nerfed from 12 to 8. The fire rate has decreased from 0.2 to 0.15, but of course the burst for the Commando has been removed at this level, so that doesn't exist. So you're just looking at the reload times, which has decreased, well, it's actually remained the same actually, at 2 seconds. The ammo has remained the same at 45, the max hits has remained the same at 2, the range has increased from 13.5 to 14.5. So overall, its DPS has slightly increased from 35.01 to 39.52. The cost efficiency has gone from 183.8 to 165.36, which is fair enough. It just seems like the developers have just removed the burst at the Commando and given it a slight buff, which is fair enough. I didn't understand why the Commando had a burst in the first place. It already had these weird mechanics when it comes to reload, and later on its missiles which acted like landmines. So at level 3, the upgrade cost for the Commando Tower has remained the same at 8,500. Therefore meaning that the upgrade cost, or the total price for the level 3 Commando, has increased slightly from 14,935 to 15,035. The damage, interestingly enough, remained the same at 15, and the fire rate has slightly decreased from 0.15 to 0.13. Reload time remains the same at 1.5, the ammo remains the same at 60, max hits remains the same at 2, the max hits has actually decreased from 3 to 2, the range has slightly increased from 15 to 16, therefore meaning that the DPS for the Commando Tower has gone from 63.37 to 92.02. However, there's also been changes to the missiles that the Commando can place down. These missiles, they still act like landmines if they're not exploded immediately, but there has been some changes to it. So its splash damage, it used to be 150 and now it's only been nerfed to 100. Missile count remains the same at 2. The stun time has actually decreased from 1.5 to 0.5. The lifespan has actually increase from 60 to 360, so if an enemy doesn't step on the landmine, it's probably going to step on the landmine eventually, because, you know, it lasts there for 6 minutes. The missile range for the Commando Tower, interestingly enough, has increased from 30 to 32. I don't know why it's increased by like 2, but given the fact that it's already pretty large. 30 is like going from here to going to here. Yeah, I don't know why, but fair enough. The explosion range has remained the same at 4, meaning that the DPS for the missiles has decreased from 7.5 to just 5. And overall, the cost efficiency for the Commando Tower at this level has gone from 210.74, which was pretty bad, to 154.97, which is actually pretty good in the Commando. And finally, for level 4, this is actually the only level where it's actually decreased in cost, even though the developers mention a decrease in cost at the later levels. No, it's only at this level. It's gone from 20,000 to 18,000 as a upgrade cost, meaning that at this level it's gone from $34,935 to $33,035. Interestingly enough, the damage for this Commando has increased from 20 to 24. The fire rate has increased from 0.125 to 0.13. The reload time has remained the same at 1.25 seconds. Ammo remains the same at 80. The max hits for the Commando has decreased from 3 to 2. The range remains the same at 17. So it means that the DPS for the Commando Tower has increased from 113.91 to 156.22. Meanwhile, when it comes to the damage of the missiles at this level, there's been some major changes for this. The splash damage has decreased from 200 to 125. The missile count remains the same at 4. The ability cooldown remains the same at 10 seconds. The stun time has decreased from 2 to 1, halving it. The missile lifespan has increased from 60 seconds to 360 seconds. Again, as level 3, it means that it can stay on the path for 6 minutes. So effectively, you can stack these missiles up pretty much. The missile range remains the same at 34, and the explosion range remains the same at 6. So its DPS has decreased from 20 to 12.5. So the combined DPS for the Commando Tower, including its missiles, has gone from 133.91 to 168.72, cost efficiency going from 260.88 to 195.8. So yes, overall, this means that the Commando Tower, interestingly enough, even though the statistics may not want to prove it, it's actually been buffed. All because the developers removed the burst from the Commando Tower. They haven't removed the reloading from the Commando Tower, but I don't really think that's been problematic. I mean, not many people noticed the reloading time, for example, for the Chiromancer, so I think reloading here seems just about fine. It's really weird that it has reloading, because it seems very similar to the Militant Tower from back in the day, but that's because the Militant Tower back then was kind of weak, whereas the Commando Tower, it's actually... Oh, it's alright. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but with its missiles lasting 6 minutes on the ground, yeah, you can effectively stack it up. So, yeah, I think the Commando is an okay pretty good event tower, which is surprising. Again, though, it's not many people are going to be buying this because you can't get its Game Pass, and I don't think many people are going to be using it, but that's something to bear in mind, so fair enough.